Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Warp World Tech Talk. I am Jaku. Joined with me today is Cat Dev Games
Hey.
and Saturn.
What up?
Today we're actually going to be talking about crowd control effect packs. Why are there so many? How are there so many? Who are so many? What are so many? And so on and so forth.
And so on.
So on and so on and so on. As always, though, we like to start these slides off with some introductions. And so that's, again, no different today. I'm Matthew Jakubowski, founder of Warp World. I've been in security. I've been featured in things. You all know this by now. And if you don't, it's on the screen for you to read. But my fun fact today is I've never watched The Wizard of Oz.
Wow.
And yeah.
I
do know,
that's
though.
Great. Wow. I find that unbelievable.
Well, I'm not going to watch a
That
black and
might be
white
a lie.
movie.
That might be a lie. Actually,
I'm not going to watch a black and white movie. I'm
Fair.
just not interested. I do know that I think it's the Tin Man has a gun. I know that much.
Yeah.
All right.
That's true.
Dark Side of Oz is so good, Grim. It's real. I've seen it. It's real.
Yeah. So this is now we're on to Cat. Cat, you didn't give me a fun fact, so I made one up for you.
I did. I changed it in the slide.
Oh. Well.
Oh, I was supposed to be bragging about being a top 50 player in a rhythm game, but this one works too.
That might have been in the slides before I had to convert to the stream slides. So there's two sets of slides, yes. But we'll use that one for next time. But
yeah,
tell
we
us
gotta
about
do
yourself.
it next time.
Yeah.
All right. I went to school for CS. Also, the one of the original devs for Link to the Past Randomizer. Really into those kind of games, as you might like, the sort of roguelikes, the Dead Cells, that kind of stuff. Been with Warp World for it's gonna be 3 years soon. It's very exciting stuff. And it's been a great roller coaster with just crowd control and just all the events and everything. It's been wild.
Cool. All right, Saturn.
Yo. Yep. They call me Saturn around here. I have mainly focused in IT for the last 15 years, obviously. At Warp World, I do try to keep in mind security. We do support, QA, especially when it comes to crowd control, documentation, which maybe if you use crowd control, you've probably seen my face. And I tried to do project management on crowd control, help get the games out and planned and scheduled and all that stuff. Normal things there, Earthbound, fan, all that good stuff. My fun fact is I was excited to come up with this one. My first Linux was Mandrake 7, which was probably around 2000,
Wow.
which I did not get anywhere with. It was horrible. And it doesn't play StarCraft, so it's like, what's the point of this? And then the first one I really learned on and really loved was Fedora 5. I still have a giant book back there that was a great resource, and it was a good time ever since then.
Yeah, no, I remember Mandrake. I believe Mandrake 7 was also my first.
Probably.
So just interesting and dabbling with other Linux distributions, because Mandrake was okay. It was like the Windows of Linux at the time, I want to say. Unless we're then there was was there Lindos? Was that what it was called later on? That was
that was
I think
that existed.
I think Walmart sold PCs with Lindos.
Probably. Why not?
Yeah. Crazy times. All right, cool.
Nice.
Well, that's introductions done. Let's move on over to what is a tech talk. And what is a tech talk? I don't even know. I want to find out with you. It's okay. So it's a new bi-weekly show, semi-deep diving into warp. Oh yes, okay, that's what this is. So no, we offer insight into our services and our philosophies, and we try to let you get a little bit of inside knowledge on all that sort of stuff. So we tell you about our services, the problems that they solve, the challenges we may have faced while we were building these tools or continue to face, what we do to accomplish our goals, any future ideas we might have. Obviously, we try to do a technical deep dive when we can. And then we do general Q&A. And so you can ask questions at any time during this this tech talk using the exclamation point ask, which, funny enough, uses the Warp World multi-queue. It's a very talented program that somebody built, who knows, and it can do a lot. So we use it as a QA software because it works like that. It's, at the end of the day, all questions and answers can just be put in a queue. And so, starting right off, what is crowd control? This, if you've been to a previous tech talk, it was probably about crowd control. But again, for anyone that doesn't know, crowd control is a Twitch extension that allows viewers to interact with a streamer's game in real time. What that means is you're able to send effects into the game, such as giving or taking away time in a level in like Super Mario World, giving them a mushroom in Super Mario World, killing them straight up in like Super Mario 64 or Dark Souls, increasing the difficulty in the game, making enemies stronger, all sorts of fun stuff. It's a really fun and unique way to allow streamers to generate extra revenue, as opposed to the traditional donation. I guess, the traditional donation or subscription. It's really a fun way for you to donate, help support the streamer, but still get some sort of more enjoyability out of it than a quick, hey, what's up? This is my like the streamer just giving you a shout out, like as great as that is, at the end of the day, crowd control's better. But yeah, so we offer customizable prices. So every single effect can go from 1 coin to 10,000 or 100,000 coins. Whatever. It's 1 penny to $1,000 basically. So streamers of all size can kind of use crowd control. You can, if you have a small community, you're able to set your prices really, really low. All viewers are able to get 50 free coins from the start. Every single session you do will allow them to get more coins. There's channel points integration. There's a lot in there that allows you to kind of give users coins that don't necessarily have the means to get the coins through bits, and that's fine. But we really want to put the power in your hands by allowing you to have full control over the pricing of the effects. And I think that's been the biggest. I don't know. It's one of the greatest features of crowd control, but it's one of the underutilized ones, I would have to say. We try to do the best we can with our default pricing. Fun fact: most games have 2 menus when you first log into the website for a game. If you are partnered, we will have a certain set of pricing, and if you're affiliate or lower, we will have a different set pricing by default. And those will not always match your community. So it is really in your best interest to go and adjust those. And then obviously, we're still in the month of May. And so St. Jude is doing a big charity month, but crowd control has direct charity support. Our last tech talk actually went a lot more into detail about this, but we have integration through Tiltify with over 12 supported charities, which means no bits have to be spent to get coins on the channel. You can actually, your actual donations to those causes will actually get you coins so you can cause mayhem on the streamer. Okay. And then, the challenge. This is where we get into the challenges of crowd control, and what we face with crowd control. Building a system like crowd control as a one-off, not much of a challenge. You got one game, you got everything that's going to happen. But building a system that has support for so many different games and systems, that is a huge challenge and was a huge undertaking. And the way that we're getting to how we've done it, but the additional challenges that we faced after this original problem is exciting games that we have no knowledge of. We don't know every single game. Cat here is like a master of Link to the Past. They could tell you just about anything about that game.
Yeah.
Saturn here can tell you a whole lot about Earthbound, but neither one of us, or none of us, could tell you, every single thing. And I'm trying to think of a game about Jaws on the NES. We could tell you a little bit. You gotta
even a popular game like Super Metroid.
Yeah, there you go, Super Metroid. But yeah, there's a huge amount of games that we don't have any knowledge of, and So we look to the communities on that. But we're a small team, and even a smaller team that actually understands this process of creating effect packs and the work that goes into it. Saturn talked about this a little bit already on the support side when they mentioned that they do a lot of support, but they are one of the biggest QA testers on our effect packs.
Yep. I basically everything that gets launched will go through me at some point.
All of
and
it.
then I use my QA to do write up the guides. That's whole part of the setup for that. And how do we set up from the beginning, from the basics of our C# file all the way up to something simple that anyone can read and set up. So
yeah, every single game
Exactly.
why many of them will follow a similar trend in terms of setup. There will be some caveats and there will be some differences, and so we don't just copy and paste it and be like, here you go, this guide worked for Super Metroid, it's going to work for Super Mario World. Some sections, sure, but there are going to be tips and notes and suggestions that could be unique for every single game. And so, like, when you are setting up a game, it is very important to check the guide out and just double check. Just go through it, especially before, like, if you, especially before starting a stream, but especially if you have any questions. A lot of the questions that you will have about those games will be in that guide, because again, we are a very small team, and so, like, we put as much information out there as we can to ensure that everyone has the best experience possible, because we will not always be around, even though it seems like we almost always are. And yeah,
There's some
lots of
amount of
users with
sleep that happens
yeah, and that's where
occasionally.
the guides and that's where the guides come in with lots of users with different needs and knowledge. We understand that some of our users are very technical. We understand that some of our users are not very technical, and so we try to make the guides as easy as possible for anyone of any knowledge to understand. But, but we also have quick setups for some games these days that allow like I don't even know how to a parrot could click the button essentially and be set up. So, like, there could be an instance where a parrot has set up crowd control. I don't know. It's possible.
uh,
So overcoming challenges, one challenge we also face is
working
interruptions
from
by
home,
children.
that's a challenge, right?
Yes, yes, yeah, that's where I was going. But no. So how do we overcome these challenges? We have an effects pack SDK. This has been something that's been part of crowd control for many years now, and we have many individuals have taken advantage of this, which has been great. But by providing this SDK, others are able to help create packs for games that they might be more familiar with. This goes back to our limited knowledge in games. Super Metroid is a perfect example because that was not a pack done by us. That was done in collaboration with someone else, and they knew this game way better than any of us, and so they had access to SDK. They were able to talk with myself and Kat, and I think Kat helped them out with some, like, reverse control sound ASM and stuff. But at the end of the day, they knew what needed to be done for that game and where to find everything and get everything done. And the SDK allows for that to happen. It's great. This also obviously gives us the benefit of increasing our game library without as much work on our side to have to go out and really deep dive into a game. I think we would love to spend time deep diving into all these games, but it's just not possible with the team size we have and the other responsibilities that we have. And so we look to users using the SDK as much as possible there. And then obviously, I've already touched on this again, but the support guides and the one-click setup, having these really does help make us look a little bit bigger than we are. But also it allows us to focus on bigger issues, because at the end of the day, if a user's complaining about something that we know, we can be like, go read the guide, it tells you how to do it. Some people might say that that's bad customer service, so we link the guide, we're like, hey. But at the end of the day, like, there's only so much time in the day, and there's sometimes fires we got to put out. So, like, if we're short with you on Discord, it's because we're probably working on something much bigger right now, and your answer would be you'd find the answer to your question in the guide. But again, PC games now have one-click setup, and that is I don't know about you guys, but I know it's, like, completely impacted the games that we've seen users using.
It just makes it so much easier to, especially if you're new to it. You come in, you see one click, and you're like, oh, what does that do? Now it's done.
Yeah, makes it a lot less intimidating.
The guide
Yeah.
still has and the guide still has all the info you'd want in it. So like if you still want to do manual setup, it's all there. Everything is there. There is still some things you want to check the guide out, even if you do a one click, just in case. But I mean, that cuts out any kind of technical thing you might want to do. Basically, everything else at that point is just like going into the game and making sure it's in the mod menu. That's as simple as at that point.
Yeah. And it's some of that times, even the one-click setup is usually enables that these days. But there's still some steps you want to take, and like we put as much power into the streamer as possible to be able to test these things beforehand and make sure that everything's working. There's two ways to test effects. One is like a local setup, and if local effects work, then that means like the communication between the game and the software, just that connection on your PC is working. But if for some reason the live extension is not working for you, that means it's not going to work for your viewers on Twitch. And so there's a bigger problem, some sort of connection issue, maybe between your computer and your internet and our servers and our internet. And so, there's different levels that helps us rule things out almost immediately. So some have argued like, why don't you just have the one? It's like, well, because we need to be able to troubleshoot things. If the if the live extension is not working, we don't know if the local effects are working, and we'd be going like to a completely different troubleshooting route. So there's a lot of reasons for the possible madness that you might see or think, but it really does help on all sides for this sort of thing. I think we're supposed to go into demo. Yeah, so we're not going to go to the demo just yet, though. I do want to spend a little bit more time on. We don't have a slide for it, but I do want to talk a little bit more about the process of the Q&A that we've talked about and the evolution of effect packs. One thing is for certain: no effect pack, when it's done, is it done.
Right.
It might seem done. It might not have anything for a year or two, but there are effect packs that like we are constantly looking at them. We get feedback. We are looking into like things that might have caused things to break. We've had to change things in effect packs to fix them, especially for games with randomizers. Those are still evolving. Those are giving updates to old games. The effect packs for games like Castlevania on the NES, we're probably fine with that one. That one's never going to need any updates. I don't think we support the randomizer, but if we do, I don't know.
Check the guide, by the way.
Check the guide
if we do.
Yeah. But like that game's not getting an update, so we're okay with that. But like Link to the Past randomizer, for instance, a big effect that like everyone's been like, where is it? Cuckoo Storm, like that was in the original days of crowd control, and it's been removed for a while because some updates happened on the Link to the Past randomizer side that broke that functionality. And so it's making a return soon, TM. But there's things that we have to do, but the amount of support, it's as much testing as we do. Yeah. There's no better testing than actually live, sadly. And so we will, Saturn knows this. Like I'll be like going through effects and be like, hey, this isn't working, or this streamer's been doing this, and like these 3 effects in this row broke it, or something weird happened. And so like it's stuff that we never found in testing for various reasons. I don't want to say that we I don't know how to phrase it, but when we're testing, like we will try to throw everything at it, but we also know like the state of the game a little bit in our head, and so it's hard. But users out there, where like multiple random users are sending random effects essentially themselves, it creates a whole different set of environment variables. And we've had like random effects just get triggered by our stuff, but again, it's that knowledge of them knowing the game state and also like doing multiple things at once that really we can't easily replicate unless we had 5. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
let's say that there's easy things we can do where like we want to make sure effects that don't work together don't actually trigger.
Oh
So
yeah.
like anything that's slow, like a slow movement speed and then fast movement speed, we don't want those to trigger at the same time. So we can easily test stuff like that. Make sure things like that queue. We can make sure when we do combined effects, like for example, for a long time we had Invisible Mario and Pants on Fire effect. When you do those two together, fire does never runs off. We fixed it since then, but that's one of those things where like we have to combine things to like see if we can break it essentially,
Mhm.
which we can do internally, and that's usually the first big QA push for us, besides checking out the actual code. But yeah, once it gets past me, like I said earlier, once it gets past me, uh, we put it in the hands of Twitch chat. We usually do either a smaller stream, or we just say, this is actually pretty good. Let's throw it out, and we can have Jaku or Pooh or someone else bigger test it out. Um, and then that usually comes back with bugs.
Yeah.
Very, very. It usually does not happen where we get past Twitch chat and everything's fine. So there's
I
usually
don't
a
think
back
that's
and
ever
forth.
happened.
Probably not.
SimCity.
No.
SimCity's the only one.
SimCity?
Sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
But it like that
Jaku's
game would
baby
like
pack.
it is my baby pack. Like it was
Yeah.
done very quickly, but it is at the end of the day a very simple game. And so like I was very consistent with like detecting state, and I knew a lot of the logic of the game. And like I didn't know anything about the memory of the game when I investigated it, but I knew a lot about the idea and the logic of the game. And so that definitely helped. But that goes to the whole like not everyone has knowledge of all the games. And so
Mhm.
in that instance I did
Yeah.
though. So
That's not, yeah, because I think another game we did recently, that one that I'm working on right now actually, that I never played before. So I sat down with it and tried to do our usual QA things, and yeah, I mean that's the best we can do. So at that point, we're gonna do a live test and we'll see what
mhm.
happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just
Best you can
the pack
do.
development, but the testing. Because again, Cat would know, like with Link to the Past, like sending a kill when the player's like just going down the stairs in a
Oh
doorway
yeah, when there's
can,
stairs or in
Yep.
a doorway's or
yeah,
falling in a hole or doing one of 17 other things,
yeah,
and it
it can
just
cause
goes,
some
it's horrible.
crazy stuff. Like there's, I you know what I love though, the ones where like you kill them while they're falling, and then they just slow fall for like a minute, and everyone's like, "Is it frozen?" It's like, nope, just wait. It's figuring itself out. But
Yeah.
like without knowledge of that sort of stuff, it, that stuff would have been found in the wild down the line. But we were able to kind of for a lot of it, we're able to anticipate it and work on fixes for it. But yeah, it's just not knowledge is tough. But let's do some building time. And I don't know how
Sure.
this is going to go. I'm excited for this because Kat is going to show us how to build an effect pack. And me and Saturn are going to co-commentate the code building and like live what's the
Yeah,
color
like Mystery
commentary.
Science Theater. Yeah,
I was
live
There you
thinking
go.
color
like
Yep.
commentary.
Madden football. So what he's got to do is he's got to get the function in the end zone. Is that right? I don't know.
Boom goes the
Yeah.
dynamite.
Oh yeah,
But
get
yeah.
the key.
So yeah, we're just getting set up real
Right over
quick
there.
here. We got
Let me check this one.
all right, here we
Let me
go.
check this one. Yep, this looks okay.
Oh
All
boy,
right.
here we
All
go.
right. So we're gonna try to
Hopefully you
work
all
on
can
an
see
effect.
that.
Yeah, I don't know how visible they're gonna make the emulator pretty big.
Yeah, if you're watching full screen, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, if you're watching
Even
full screen, see if I
yeah.
can make this even larger and make this even bigger. I'm not sure. I think this is as big as it gets. No, I
Yeah,
can
no,
zoom
I
even
think
more. No, it
if
just makes
people
the
are
window
watching full
bigger.
screen,
Lovely.
yeah.
Yeah, if they're
I think
watching
full
full
screen
screen,
is
that'll be
good.
fine. All right,
If you're
perfect.
not watching full screen, what are you
Um,
doing?
Yeah, so in this case, we cheated slightly. We gotta get the cheating off the screen.
Well, okay,
Let's
so
get some of these.
what cats actually there are a lot of resources online for games as well. Data Crystal
Yes,
is
there
one big
are.
resource that you can go and you can find a lot of memory maps for existing games. A lot of a lot of speedrunners have done this. A lot of ROM hackers have done this. They will have these RAM maps that are available for some values here and there. So you don't necessarily need to go and find everything yourself. It's a good starting point to see if anyone's done the work prior for this sort of stuff. Cat
Yeah,
is obviously
precisely.
Cat knows we're doing a demo with Link to the Past because we didn't want to just do a brand new game in this one. Maybe sometime in the future we will, but for this first one, we wanted to make sure that it was something that we could do and that we had a lot of knowledge on, so we could show some of the caveats that you might run into with a new game that has many unknowns.
Yeah. First thing to keep in mind is that it's actually quite a different approach that one takes with like console games versus PC game. It's probably something we should go over before we even get to demo part. Is
Sure.
that one of the issues that we had to deal with when sort of getting the crowd control infrastructure in place was, how do we deal with all of these different systems? Because we've got, on one hand, we've got like classic console games, NES, SNES, Genesis, that sort of thing. But we've also got PC games. So how do we deal with that? And then we've got other things like
Teslas.
yeah, like Teslas, or say there's a game that already has a mod. Then how do you deal with that?
Sure.
Because maybe you just want to, rather than memory hack the game, just use the modding system. Like, we have to have avenues to sort of take that request from the crowd for an effect and turn that into a real request against the console.
Yep.
And that's what the effect pack and the connector do. So basically, when you create a crowd control pack, first thing you would do is obviously select the game you're going to be working on. The game you're working on is going to sort of determine the type of pack and the type of connector you create. This was the very first one. This is Zelda 3 Randomizer. It just says SNES Effect Pack, and that's fine. And it's not super important to understand this big blob of code right now. The important thing to remember is that right here, I've got a whole bunch of memory addresses. And these are memory address. We're going to go over how to find those memory addresses here in a little bit. But we've got a whole bunch of memory addresses here. And so what happens is we're going to define, and I'm sorry for the very poor response on the mouse
Seems fine.
movement, but the screen record's making it quite sluggish. We
Fix it in
define.
post.
We actually.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually fine.
All right. We've got our list of effects. Again, the super details, the gritty details, there are examples of this on the SDK. By the way, we have a page on how to set up and use the SDK, and there are example packs that everyone can look up for. There's one for console, one for like memory hacking a game, and there's another example for talking to a game mod. So whichever kind of methodology you're going about it, we've got an example for you. In any case, you'd want to define your sort of list of effects, and then see if I can get the mouse to scroll and not lag again. Whoop. 1 second. Oh, there we go. Whoop. No, we don't. All right. Come on, Windows. This isn't even. This is actually just Visual Studio. This is just Visual Studio. It always lags as much. All right, perfect. And then the last part of that, and again, we can drill down into detail a bit. Once we've defined our list of effects, we sort of have to code up a little bit of, and again, this is more for console games, add a little bit of code for how exactly we're going to implement that effect. So for this very simple effect, adding arrows. In this case, the meat of the logic is right down here. we define in our packs a whole bunch of helper functions. So we have, for example, here connector range add 8, and you can take the quantity that you get from the crowd control extension. You can basically, we're saying, all right, take the address here that contains our arrows and just sort of add the value that we got from the crowd. And this try effect function here is going to automatically send back to our servers whether or not this worked. You, as the pack implementer, don't really need to worry about that. You just kind of need, some of these effects are even simpler.
Yeah.
All you need to do is sort of figure out your memory address, poke it, and most of our infrastructure is just going to handle what needs to get communicated. Some of these,
with
like
that,
a ferry.
well, yeah, with the
Sorry,
arrow
continue.
effect again, like just to like what we're talking about is
Sure.
the user on Twitch will be like, hey, I want to add 5 arrows. They currently have 10 arrows. So that code block right there will go and get the current, it will get the quantity that the viewer has sent down. It will also check to make sure that we're not in infinite arrows mode before it even tries that effect. So that's what we were talking about, where certain effects don't happen at the same time. You can see here that all you have to do is check for it in some way, and if it's active, you can delay it, and that's our system delaying the effect for up to about 5 minutes. But if all that passes, it's going to now go and try that effect, and it's going to be like, right, they wanted 5 arrows, they have 10. Add that to the total there, and if this is true, if this completes, great. Send up a message saying, hey, viewer took these arrows. Let the server know that this effect went true, and it will now charge the user for that effect because it did activate. If the effect never activates, the coins are refunded to the user after the 5 minutes because it gave up trying. But really, as a pack developer, you don't need to know any of that other than you can delay effects, you can cancel effects, and you try effects, and you send back successes. It is really simple, and like a lot of our first few dev pack developers took our examples, and like they're almost clones. Just they have the new memory addresses, and they have the cases for those games, but everything else is just them popping values in, copying and pasting cases essentially.
Yep. And even in that case,
Yeah,
I would even say from the QA side, make sure that what happens if they have max amount of arrows. If they have 0 and you try to take away 5, that's going to fail too. So that's another thing to think about, just to get it clean and ready to go.
Exactly.
Cat just making the link to the past pack open source right now. Good luck to whoever wants to try typing it all out.
Yeah.
My hat's off to you if you do it. Oh, my hat is off.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah. So yeah.
Some of these are poked. Some of these are cheating. Actually, this one's actually a ROM hack. This isn't memory poking. This is flipping on a switch that just enables a feature that we added to the game.
Yeah.
Which is sort of another part to the part to things. Now, for those people interested specifically in the console hacking, are we ready for that little segue yet?
Yeah.
That's the first question.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh yeah, for those people interested in the console hacking, I guess we're gonna do a little example. It's usually not particularly difficult thing to do, so we're gonna go. I've got a save state ready.
Yeah, and we
to
should
make this
say
a little quicker and easier.
Cat is using Beast Nest Plus on the Mac. Almost any emulator these days, and BizHawk has a lot of the same features here. You can do this in just about any program. I usually do it in BizHawk because it's native to Windows. I'm familiar with the tool sets. Again, Cat's more familiar with Beast Nest Plus on the Mac, and so that's going to be their best thing. But this cheat finder or this memory searching is something that is, almost any emulator has this sort of functionality now. Especially like BizHawk, which is the emulator that we have users use. It does have it, so you'll be able to find the equivalent type of menus there.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to kind of appear in in most emulators. it may not always be there, but usually you're going to find something labeled either memory search or cheat search, and you're also going to want to find some few other things. Memory editor is a good window, and these
Mm-hmm.
debugger tools. So one few things we're going to do. One, we're going to just look into basics of how to find a memory address, for those who want to do that sort of thing. And so what we're going to do to start with is we're just going to see if we can find the memory address for our rupee count here. Now, there's two ways we're going to do about it. First way, and okay, the first way is if you can really see what the number is, and that makes it a lot easier. But we're going to do it the slightly harder way first. The slightly harder way is we don't really know what our value is. We
Mm-hmm.
just know it has some value.
Yeah.
So
I would say for older games, SNES and lower, like you don't necessarily know if a 1 on the screen actually equals 1 in the memory anywhere. On PC games, it might be more 1-to-1 in that way. But
often,
on here, you don't know. Like that 45 is probably stored as hex, but who knows?
So
So
what we're
the way
going to
Cat's
say
going to do
is
this.
I started with 0 and collected a whole bunch of things. So we're going to say that this address has increased. Now, why did I just select 16-bit value? The reason I select 16-bit value is because I can see right now that the rupee count is definitely larger than 255. So this is probably a 16-bit number. So we're just going to select that it's 16-bit. It was 0, and we've raised it to 45 at this point. I don't know if we actually reset it in the first place. So let's actually
Yeah, I
do
don't think
that.
we did. Yeah.
So we're going to hit reset.
Yeah.
So this has stored all the initial values in memory. So we're going to pretend like we don't really know what that is. But now it's increased. We know it's increased. So we can say
Hold
that
on,
it's greater than the previous.
No, you were on.
What was that?
When you not on, you were on greater than. You didn't do a search first. All right, at least I didn't see it. Maybe the
Did I not
mouse.
do the search first?
Yeah. So click reset and load your state, and I'll set it up for you. Like, so
I
yeah.
don't
So
think I.
yeah. Yeah. So what they're doing right now is we know that we have no rupees, and so they're going to do a search right now
we can
where
do a
it's
search
what
to
is
zero.
comparative value, previous value, and we don't know what it's not greater than because we don't know, like what it is. Okay, so now when they go collect rupees, they're going to go from value to previous value because we know it's going to increase as they select rupees. And that list of memory values that we have there is going to hopefully decrease as they do searching. And so they're going to be able to go and click search now, and it should start to lower. Yep.
All right.
And then they're going to collect some
pick
more
up
rupees.
a few more.
And the hitbox for rupees,
Right.
can we just talk about how terrible this hitbox is for like rupees, especially in these rooms?
These are worse. The ones in the rooms have different hitboxes that are even worse.
Yeah, it's horrible. Come on, Nintendo. You guys should fix that in the randomizer. So we had a lot more values, and now we have a lot less. And so we're continuing and we're continuing. And so
yeah, though actually we messed up. We messed up.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we did.
So you got to
we can fix it.
So go to
Actually,
equal
no, we're
to.
fine with this value. We're all right.
Yep.
All right.
Right.
We screwed this up. Yeah, we accidentally hit greater than 0 the first time. All right, so we're gonna say we don't know
it's not equal to
anything
0
right now. Yeah, it's just
you just reset the state. Just go back to 0.
Yeah. Reset and save state.
Yeah. Go to your state manager. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
All right. Now we're here. Okay, so we're gonna click search, reset and search.
All right.
All right.
This is gonna give me equal to 0 now.
That's what we wanted. So a lot of values are equal to 0. They're going to go collect some rupees, and then they're going to click the greater than.
Ding, ding, ding. There we go. Greater than previous value.
Yep.
And we're going to search and see what has increased. And very few things have increased, in fact. And we're going to just do a few more. And now we've got a lot more. And we're going to search again. to show that it's increased. And now we can even see two that have the right value.
Yep.
There's
So
a
2 values do
65
actually match.
here and here. Now, when you get two values, it's almost certainly one value that's driving the actual number you have, and another value that's driving the display. That's not always the case, but that's usually the case. And we can find that out pretty quickly by sort of poking the values. So we can go into, we go to memory editor. This is a lot easier than using the cheat code editor, at least in this one. We have our address here, 7EF360 and 7EF362. We're just going to try one of them. It doesn't matter. 360. So we're at 7EF360, and here's our two. These are hex values. So this 41 is our 65 here. We can see that over here. Is my mouse visible?
Yeah.
I don't know if my mouse is being. Oh, my mouse is being captured.
It's visible.
This 65 and 41 over here, OX41, corresponds to this second one, and this upper one is our 360. So we can poke this value, just change it to 42, and this has changed our Ruby count to 66. But is that really what's changed? One thing we can do is collect another Ruby. If we end up with 70 rubies, then that was just a display. If we end up with 71, then that was the real amount. So we can just collect this rupee, and now we have 71. And if we refresh this, these both say 47 now. So this must have been my real number. And we can try it, see what this other one does. This has changed my thing here. But then
it went back.
It changed right back.
Yep.
I'll turn the auto update on, and because what's happening is this is just my display number. It's being made to count towards this other number, and it just changes by one every so often. So then if I change this to a big number, FF, this number will automatically start approaching it. So it looks like this is our real address. So when we wanted to take rupees or give rupees to someone, we would take this address, 7EF360, and we can go find our rupee effect. It was already been written. It's weird now that the emulator is going that this is actually running faster.
It probably unlocked your CPU.
Yeah, it unlocked the CPU. It turned it out of power saving mode. So
Money
I've got
down, money up. Yep.
Here we go. Money up, and I've got my address here, address of rupees, which is 7EF360. So what am I doing here? I'm first, code params one just is, this is what they selected. This is the parameter to the effect, in this case, the quantity. And first we're checking that it's a real number, or that it's there at all. And then once we have this quantity, okay, we're adding rupees. So we take this rupee address and we just give it our connector function, which we've implemented for you, range add 16. And we specify the minimum and maximum values that these rupees can take. And that is important so that it doesn't, put the game into some kind of weird broken state. And basically when this succeeds, this is going to report back to our servers that this whole effect has succeeded. And if it fails, it's just going to try it again and again and again for about 5 minutes before it again reports to the server that it fails. And their user either has their money charged if the effect succeeded, or has the money refunded, or has their coins refunded if the effect did not. And you can specify all sorts of things like when exactly, under what conditions this should be considered a success, some follow-up actions, how long you should wait between retries. If it's an unusual effect, you might want to wait extra long or extra short, all sorts of things. There are many helper functions with many sort of side things you can do. After 3 years of working on these packs, I found that most things can get done by 5 or 6 really helpful helper functions that are generally centered around trying things over and over and over.
Hmm.
It's a pretty effective strategy, and it produces really robust delivery of effects. And it's really straightforward for the pack implementers because we've sort of done everything. The connector provides everything it needs to provide.
Yeah, it's each effect here. Like we're at like line 407 for the effect name, and we go down to line 421, give or take, right? So you're talking about 13 lines of code really for this to work, and that's only because there's one space and there's a return and whatnot. It's
Whoops.
not a whole lot of
Let's take
code at the
that
end of the
out.
day. For a single effect. And again, like because all these helper functions that Kat's talking about, a lot of the hard work is done for you. You give an address, you give a quantity, an action, a value to replace that memory value with, and you do a check against it as well, and then you return a status. So what's interesting about the rupees one is actually, there's you can also decrease money, and so like instead of copying and pasting money up into its own money down case function, there's literally just a sign that we use. And so like if they call money down, we set that to -1, and then you see down on line 416, when we're doing quantity, we do quantity times -1, which gives us a negative number that allows us to remove the rupee. So it's the same exact as adding, it's just adding a negative number. Um,
And then
and
we
so
quickly adjust the language down here to
yeah,
say whether they give
so
or took the amount.
So that's two effects that, any game that has any sort of currency is going to have something very similar to this. And you've got you got two effects essentially in 16 lines or so of code, which isn't too bad. Because the use case of a lot of the helper functions, it's really simple. And I don't, maybe I'm, because I do have more of a background in programming, it looks very simple to me. It doesn't 100% read as English, but just about anyone I feel like should be able to understand with the names and stuff, like the try effect. Okay, it's going to try it. Read range add. Okay, so it's going to add to this range and it's going to use this address. Like so, maybe again,
Yeah,
maybe
and
I
I
could be
highly
wrong, but
recommend anyone who does work on a pack work in a code editor like Visual Studio because you'll get I don't know how visible. I'm going to turn the font size up on this for a second. How visible it is. All of our stuff is annotated so that if you load it in a proper code editor, you're going to have it show, okay, this parameter is the condition. This is another action. This is a follow-up action. This is a retry delay. It's not just parameters to, and like you get some really nice code completion for stuff that, and like all of this is like properly annotated so that you can actually get your coding done. It's not,
yeah.
we're not trying to be difficult.
While we're in here, I'm going to make an exception to the Q&A aspect. There is a question that
Oh
is
yeah,
asking, how would we write
that is a
code that
good
would need to
question for
read
now.
stuff at 3 or more addresses? Let's say Link and Zelda both have wallets and you want to add to simultaneously change them. Do we have any examples of that with Link to the Past where we're reading multiple memory
Uh,
addresses or writing to multiple addresses at the same time?
Probably. Let me just scroll through these really quick.
Yeah,
Actually, yeah.
yeah.
Try
Why you
alter
search it?
help. That's why I wrote a
Okay,
helper function for this.
okay.
Let's see if I can. Trying to right click it and it's not right click. Oh, there it goes. To implementation. So we've got a couple things we're going to do here. Because when we're messing with health, is this the right one? Actually, no, this is an even better one. Some of these are pretty crazy. This is a perfect one. Find or create Kuko, or with a dead rock box. You have to do 4 things at once for that. This is a perfect one.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So in this case, I actually have to read 2 things. I have to read Lynx's X position and Lynx's Y position. So that's already in itself. I have to read 2 addresses.
Yep.
And so basically what I'm saying is I'm defining a function here called spawn deadrock box, and I'll show where I reference this. I use this up here. The whole effect, deadrock box, try effect, and I just make the condition this function called spawn deadrock box. So let me go back to this function. What does this function say? It's going to say read this exposition. And by the way, all of these read and write things, these return true and false. So if this fails, the whole thing just immediately stops. It's failed. It doesn't matter because we don't have the information we need. So this is going to read Link's exposition. Then it's going to read his Y position. But then what is it going to do? It's going to call another function that I've defined below called spawn sprite. And we're going to spawn dead rocks, as you can see, sprite type dead rock that I've defined. And we're going to take this position information that we gathered, and we're going to spawn a dead rock in each of the 4 cardinal directions around Link. So we just define this function as the AND of these 2 reads and all of these spawn sprites. So if everything returns true and succeeds, then the user will be charged. If any of these fail, the whole expression returns false and the user is not charged. And we can look in the spawn sprite here. If it decides to write, there we go. We're defining spawn sprite as another connector. We're saying if connector is equal, so we're saying if this sprite status slot, just a spot where I can create a new sprite in memory that I did research on using the method before, and because I looked it up in a disassembly, if this sprite slot is empty, which is yet a 3rd read, then we call this other function here. So what does this do? This is going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 more times. So I'm just defining a bool that's result. It equals the AND of all of these different writes, and then I just return it. And so when all of this stuff returns, return, this is going to return to here. These are going to get called spawn dead rock box. This is all going to return either true or false. And try effect will know what to do. Because I've put this in the condition rather than the action, it's going to keep retrying it about 25 times before it just gives up. And it will deal with making sure the server is making sure the server is updated on that information and that the user is properly charged or not. In any case, it all boils down to just doing the reads and writes you need and checking whether it returns success or failure, and just sort of aggregating all of those successes together and returning that status to the server. And just sort of the back end does most of the lifting, most of the work for you. As long as you can just sort of take these connector actions, like connector is 0, connector write 8. As long as you just sort of take these actions and chain them together and just say, try this effect, the backend's going to handle the rest. You just sort of need to define it. It's more declarative than anything else in a way.
Yeah, and with Dead Rock Box, it was a bit more complicated than Rupees because there was a few things you had to check there. You had to make sure that the table for enemies did have a value for you to be able to spawn an enemy in. But you defined all that in your code. So like you wrote that function and that all that stuff once, and you just reused it essentially. But it's going through like a loop there, and it's like, all right, let me find a spot to put them in, which is great. But like in a case of like the wallet, like the question asked, those wallets will probably always be static in the spot, and you will never have to wonder if the wallet's value is there, where you have to make sure that there's an empty sprite, an empty spot for an enemy. But the idea is still there at the end of the day, of how it works. And so as you saw, you can basically make a whole bunch of helper functions inside your effect pack to make that whole effect look even easier. But I don't know if we have any examples in the we'll have to look at some of the example packs that we have to see if they have anything with multi-reads and multi-writes, so that we can make sure that we have a good example for people that might not be aware, so that
that's a
it's
fair.
easier to break down. But yeah, great question.
Definitely.
And like that will come up. There will be many times you want to read, like, so it's not even so much about writing to two values. A lot of times you might want to read two states. Links X and Y is a good example, but some games you might want to be able to read, like, okay, is this, what level's the person in and what action are they currently taking? Because maybe there's a bug with certain levels. Mario 64, for instance, I think comes to mind. Like, we can't, there's certain effects we can't spawn in the 3 Bowser levels, and so rewind time is probably the perfect example. You cannot rewind time in Mario 64 when you are fighting Bowser, and so every time rewind time is called, you have to check to see what the status of Mario is. Is he paused? Is he currently in an animation? And what level he's in, and then call that if both return as a value that's acceptable. And you will definitely find those in other games. So Mario 64 is probably a perfect example that we could probably
Mario
show.
64 is a good example for a lot. I can probably pull it up now if you want to. Mario 64.
Yeah, we can pull it up.
We've got a whole bunch here to find. All right. So we've got some stuff for set model, set visibility. Here we go. Our various effect definitions. Oh, we didn't even touch on this. If you support only certain versions of a ROM, you can include checksums to say, this version, like Mario 64 Shindo Edition is not supported.
That's the jumper
Do not
pack.
support
The Rumble
the
Pack
Japanese
edition.
Rumble Pack. Japanese Rumble Pack Edition. Yep.
And most of our guys should have. Yes, most of our guys should have MD5s in them too. If we do limit to that, just another thing to put in there.
Yeah. Look for
this is another example of Mutex move state, camera lock, super squish, no movement. All right. Sometimes you want to define effects that clash, and you don't want to have to be writing to process memory to find extra. This is my state. Sometimes it's just, I want to, go super fast or go super slow. So how do I do that? Again, that work is sort of handled for you. In this case, we've got some Mario 64 effects that clash with each other because they go to the same address. Let's see if I can find one of the ones that actually use the exact same address. Kill player, and yeah, okay. So here's kill player, and there was one that gives health, I think, up here. Or no, Oko. Yeah, Oko, and there's a bunch. So what is our problem here? We can't, if we want to be killing the player, or, here's a perfect example. Do these actually do the same thing? Yes, perfect. Mario having his pants on fire. Versus Mario riding on a Troopa shell. Now, this is just, Mario has a state. Mario is just, he's a video game character. He just has a pointer to a thing that says what he's doing, and that pointer defines his action. If that pointer says that his pants are on fire, that's what he's doing. He's making that run animation, and the smoke is shooting out his butt, and he's losing health. Now, if I want to do that, that's fine. I can poke that value to memory, and now Mario's pants are on fire. But then what happens if someone has just paid for a surf? Because that's using the same address. If someone is now surfing on a Koopa, or if someone has paid for Mario to be surfing on a Koopa shell, and we light his pants on fire, this is the same memory address. That pants on fire is going to knock Mario off that Troopa shell, even though a viewer just paid, if it's a charity marathon, potentially a fair amount of money, to get that effect. So what do? In that case, we say, okay, fire pants. We're going to same sort of helper functions as our last parameter here. We have something called mutex. And when we do that, we'd say, okay, this fire pants is messing with Mario's movement because it's causing him to run, and it's messing with his health because it's hurting him. So, all right, we say that this effect uses the two mutexes called move state and health. So that when we define other effects that might also hurt you and might also affect your movement, like knockback or surfing, we just define similar mutes. And like, for example, the surf, I don't really need to define the health one here. I don't know why that's like that. It's a typo. I'm going to take that out. Surf
Fixed.
just defines our movement state. So if our pants are on fire and this move state mutex is acquired, the surf is not going to screw it up. And similarly, if someone is, if the surf effect is in use, this fire pants is not going to engage until after the surf effect is done. So when you put different stuff into these mutexes, you essentially cause the effects to queue instead of stack. And this sort of defines the queuing behavior. And that's really useful and helpful for making sure, especially in a lot of these older games where memory addresses are limited and used for multiple purposes, that you stop your effects from clashing with each other. Does all crowd control use the same? Is that a good question for now, or is that for later?
I mean, I think it's better for a later question. Use exclamation point ask to ask questions, everyone. We did one exception because we were in the middle of something that was very relevant. So if you have a
Literally
question,
perfectly on point.
Make sure you use exclamation point ask, and we will get to questions at the end. Thanks, X1.
And I was going to say, based on this, this is some of the important QA things that I'm going to check for right away, because we want to make sure at the end the viewer gets their money's worth, and it also creates a good gameplay moment, because you don't want to be stuck somewhere. You want the game to still continue and have fun, and you want the viewer to make sure that their thing happened. So a lot of stuff like this, I think, is pretty important when it comes down to it.
It's very important, and it's one of the reasons why there's certain effect packs for games that we just won't do. Or, yes, it'd be very easy for us to send keystrokes into your PC games, but how do we know you were in a state where sending that keystroke did what the person bought? There are other programs out there that will just send key presses into your game, but there's no verification of it at the end of the day. And we want to make sure that we are capable of doing that. I guess Kat's about to show us the Minecraft pack, because this pack's kind of interesting. All the logic is really done in the mod for the game, and all crowd control is used for is the interface between. This goes back to kind of the earlier speak of mods.
Now, this is a really interesting one. This is our Minecraft pack. Now, you're gonna notice at the top of these files, I have the pack types sort of defined out. This one says N64 pack because it's an N64 game. Minecraft being a PC title, we have a different type of pack for this, and it's called Simple TCP Pack. And this is if you want to do a game mod. Now, this is for all the modders out there. This is the part you want to listen to. For all the game modders. If you have an existing mod for a game, especially if it's one of those sort of like chaos mod, like was very popular with the GTA. If you have a mod for your game, and especially if it's one of those sort of chaos mods, you're already a large percentage of the way done with your pack, because we have a pack type designed for communicating with mods, and it's pretty easy to work with. Now, in this pack, this is for Minecraft. We're saying, okay, our pack, our mod, this Minecraft mod, which is you can download this mod, and if you're in the source to it's public. This mod is listening on port 58430, and we just define our list of effects here, and that's it. There's no more code in this pack. Now, where does the magic happen? Again, because the mod is already sort of, the game's already modded, and you just want to sort of add crowd control support to your mod, all the mod has to do is listen on this TCP port. And on that port, it is going to receive just text, just JSON blocks. And these JSON blocks just contain effect requests. And all you as the mod developer need to do is read out those JSON blocks, which present pretty simple information like, please do this effect now. It was sent by Bob. And so that you, the mod, can display on the screen, Bob sent a swarm of bees or whatever. And, you can do that. And then you as the mod only need to just respond to crowd control with another blob of JSON that says, yes, I was able to do this effect, or no, I was not able to do this effect. Right here, right now. Your mod does not need to have any kind of memory, scheduling, queuing, nothing. If you fail at actuating the effect, we will handle asking again in a few seconds. All you need to worry about is, can I activate this effect right now? Now. And if you can, you do it, and you return success. If you don't, you return fail. Ultimately, that's all that's really required from the mod. So if you have the ability to open a TCP socket and just input and output a little bit of text, that's all you need to do to be able to talk to crowd control. All of the other logic to this is either handled by the crowd control client for things like rescheduling and talking to the server, or handled by the mod when it comes to, actually killing the player, for example. So in this way, if games that already have modding systems, or even better, already have mods, can be brought to crowd control very, very, very quickly, as long as someone in the modding community is aware that crowd control is the thing, and that they just have to basically know it exists, and just put in, a surprisingly small amount of time for the result that you get, because you're able to use the big infrastructure that we've already got for handling things like charity support and refunding users and rescheduling effects intelligently, and like all of that is handled. All your game mod needs to say is, yes, I can do this, or no, I cannot.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah, we just
Whoops.
had Subnautica. It was a good example of that. We support Subnautica, and part of the person who worked on the mod knew about crowd control, and they implemented it, and now we support it through that mod, and the mod still exists, and we can offer our awesome backend and charity support and all that good stuff through that.
Precisely.
Any other examples we can think of? I was trying to think what else, what other kind of situations where an example would be. I think that you covered a lot of it. What do you think, Jaku?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good example. I think we can go into finding. I think we wanted to kind of show a new, a new
Sure.
effect.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do that one though. Okay, so I can find the address again. One of the things we were saying was, okay, we were gonna find a new effect, and one of the things we looked up, I don't even know what this address is. Is this the one? Oh yeah, perfect. This is the one. So let's get out of here at our glorious 18 frames per second.
Got there. All right, there we go.
Yeah. All right, so we're going with this address. I looked this up in a disassembly. This says controls whether to do a spinner attack or not. And then the other person who has annotated this says actually looks more like a step counter for the spin attack. In either case, we've been told that we have this interesting address in memory. So we're going to go in our extremely slow debugger, because it's running a screen capture at the same time. We're going to go and we're going to experiment a little with this address. So this says 79. That's obviously not a real address, but we can go ahead and get the real address. Real memory addresses on the Super Nintendo, and this is just something that you know with experience of working on the Super Nintendo. You can go ahead and set this is for RAM, but I know what the address they mean is, and it's easier. Real RAM starts with 7E on this NES. All right, so we have this 7E0079. We have this byte in memory right here. So I'm going to see if I can highlight. I can't highlight it. When I swing my sword, what happens? So this byte is an F right now. When I hold my sword in, it seems to be charging up to OX40. And that's my little sparkle here. And then I release, and I'm releasing a spin. So I attack normal, and it only just goes up a little bit. It seems to be counting up. See, it goes up to like 5 and then to 8 when I swing my sword. So it seems to only be really counting up when there it is. When I'm holding up and charging and charging and charging and charging and charging, and now it's a 40. Otherwise, it doesn't, it's just this other animation counter, and this thing never really counts up. So what happens if we freeze this value? So this saying, okay, let's just take it. So now we're going to say it's FF all the time. So what is that going to do? I'm going to click that. And look, this has had an effect that now every slash I do is a spin, but it's had an interesting, cool little side effect for us. Because I am spinning right after a slash, it seems to be doing something unique that we've never sort of seen before. It seems to throw his little shield. That's normally supposed to be around him, but because we've sort of hacked the state a little bit, it's causing him to throw a second larger shield towards the enemy, which is a really nice little effect. It really like powers up the player a little bit. And look, get him, get him, get him. Having everything be a slash is actually a lot harder than it. It's not all a power up. It's actually a lot trickier. I notice it only flies forward sometimes. But yeah, we're stuck with everything being. And so what we would do, we would just sort of freeze that effect and say, okay, so because I'm going a little slow, let's do another thing as well. Let's see if we can speed Link up, because I'm getting frustrated at how annoyingly slow I'm going. Oh, look, here's an address, modifier for Link's movement speed. So let's see what happens if we actually change that value. So this is our 5.7. And we're gonna, what does it say here in our disassembly? I mean, we could try different values. We could see how slow Link is with 01. Oh, my word. That is painful.
Oh, that's horrible.
There he goes. There he goes.
I hate everything about this. It's a perfect effect.
Let's try making him go fast. There we go. Might be going to, whoa, okay. Now, even with the severe lag, this is 9 frames per second, and I'm going full speed. So that gives an idea of how ridiculously fast Link is actually moving. If this were going any faster than 10 frames per second, I wouldn't be able to control it, because he's actually going above normal speed at 12 frames per second, which means he's going at least 6 times normal velocity. So Link is actually moving quite fast right now. So this is a sort of super duper, and he's not running though. He doesn't have the dash state. So this is just a sort of interesting effect for, hey, do you want to make Link super duper fast? Now, someone might be wondering, hey, this seems like a really good effect. Why haven't you done this? Why isn't this already in effect? That would be a good question, and I'm going to show you why it's not already in effect right now. You see these sideways walls. Anytime you mess with Link's speed, you run a very severe risk of embedding yourself in walls. And it's very, very easy. If I messed around with this for more than 5 minutes, I would almost assuredly be able to throw myself into the lake and get stuck. Is there ways to fix it? Yeah, probably. My word, I know it doesn't look like I'm going super fast, but like you need to realize this is going a quarter normal speed, and I'm really moving along. So that, yeah, basically, once we've found our values, we could just go ahead and then say, let's make link fast. If we wanted to make link fast link 7E0057. I wanted to actually add the fast link effect right now. I can just pause my emulator, go over here, Zelda randomizer. I really wanted to create. Are we going to demo the SDK today? I don't think I can stream that. Not with this setup. All right. So if we wanted to say case, we just want to add our effect fast link. It would be really easy to do. All we have to say, we're just going to say, all right, we're just going to make link fast for 15 seconds. So we're going to say start timed, which is one of our helper functions. We're going to give it the request. The reason why we give it the request information is so that it can respond to the server with what it needs to do. Now for this, we're going to make it real simple. We're going to say our start condition is nothing. Our start condition is just, you can do it. And the action is going to be connector dot, what did we say? We're going to write OX40 to the address 57. We're going to write a byte. What address is that? 7E0057. And we're going to write the value OX40. And all right, how long is that going to be going for? We said 15 seconds, so we say time span from seconds 15. And then we return. Well, if the code completion doesn't go off the side of the screen. Does it need anything else? Are we good? Oh, because that's supposed to be a function. All right. And then that's it. That is the whole effect. Like, if we were to build this into, this is literally just Visual Studio not able to catch up with the syntax on it. This is fine. That's it. That would be the entire effect. In this case, turning link into fast link is essentially an issue of doing the research on the memory address. The actual effect is a one-liner. We just say start timed this request. And what are we doing as our action? We are writing the value OX40 to 7E0057. Now, probably the first thing, this would not pass QA. If we wanted to, we would at the very minimum want to pass this mutex link speed here so that this effect does not stack with itself, because effects are perfectly capable of stacking with themselves. And obviously, poking this address to OX40, that's not going to be good business. And the other issue is, oh, wait a minute, when we're done, what do we do? Because this value is not going to poke itself back. But that's okay. Because we can take the value of start time and assign it to a variable. And then we are able to say, all right, when this is done, it's not going to run immediately. We just say vaguely when this effect is finished. At some point, we can just connector and just write the value back to the way it was. 70, what is it, 59 we just said? 57. So when we were done, we would just say, whoops. Oh, I know why. When we were done with this effect, we just say, okay, when this effect is completed, then do this thing, connector. We just write the value back to 0. And we don't worry about when is it completed. It does, like, this again, the infrastructure is provided. This will do the count from 15. It will make, you can even in some cases add extra parameters to this to stop the timer when you're in certain areas, like the
or
Kuko
when the game's
storm,
paused.
or when the
Yep.
game is paused. All of these
The
things
character
we
has
can add
died.
extra conditions.
Yeah.
The character is already dead. Exactly.
Yeah. So, because if an effect's only 15 seconds long and they're running around going fast, and somebody sends a kill command, that's going to be 15 seconds in itself to get all the way through. You don't want that fast command to just have gone to waste. So having those sorts of checks in place are very nice for ensuring that users get what they paid for.
Exactly. All right. Was there any? I guess we could. Do we want to go over how to use the SDK, or is that a different? I think that's going to be a different.
Yeah, I think
We
we
could
need
do
to.
that. But...
Yeah, it's not too complicated to use SDK, but there is some functionality I want to go over in the SDK that's a little bit more.
Yeah,
than,
that's the thing. I
than the
want to
time
go
we
into a
have.
really deep drill down.
Yeah,
Yeah, a deep drill
yeah.
down for the SDK would be much nicer.
If you have any questions about the SDK and how to use it for now, it's not too complicated. But at the end of the day, reach out to us on our Discord, and we're around to help answer questions on that. And then we'll get into another talk around the SDK itself, and probably it might not even necessarily be a tech talk, but it might just be a video that we link out and include a link to in the SDK download. The thing to know about the SDK, it does get updated. It's at the same link every time it gets updated. So if something's not working or you're not sure, go and download it again. It's not something that auto updates because of the way it's built, but it is something that is constantly getting updated just as much as the client.
Daily almost.
And don't run the client and the SDK at the same time.
Yes.
Oh yes, don't do that.
Okay.
The one thing I was going to say too, once you make it to this part, like if you finish a pack and you want us to look at it, same thing. Discord is going to be the best place to go. You could technically email us too, but come into Discord. We have a developer section. People are always in there talking, asking about things. We will help you if you need it. We won't write the pack for you, but if it gets to the point where we're QAing it, we will probably point you in the direction to fix bugs, tweak things. Yeah.
Yep. And that said, there are a lot of people in the channel that don't necessarily have a coding background, but are looking to find that have done the research on the memory values needed for stuff, but don't have a coding background. So there's possibilities for you to team up with someone. And you never know. Somebody might be working on an effect pack for a game that you yourself want to build, and so there could be a really good case of working together with somebody on it. So it's a good starting point in general, just to go and do a search and speak out a little bit. But yeah, no, hopefully that was informative and give some people some insight on how to find memory values, how the SDK or how the effect building works a little bit more. So it's a little bit more clear. And we do have some questions though. So if we want to get to that,
that was great, Kat. There's a lot of good stuff in there.
Thank you. And
right.
I do have to apologize. I may have been a little absent during part of that. I'm actually in the middle of support for someone right now, doing a St. Jude event, and they had some difficulties. Wrong version of stuff downloaded. It's a common mistake people make, but we are pretty active with our support, even when we're in the middle of doing tech talk.
Just read
so
the guide. Anyways,
yeah. All right. So RW Grimm, did you know the Wizard of Oz starts in black and white but then moves to color? That's is that fake news? Because I've seen the end of the movie. Like I've seen parts of the end of the movie and it was black and white.
right. I don't want to spoil anything, but you should give it a watch. It's pretty
I don't know,
old,
man.
but it's worth it, I think.
Like I remember seeing, what's her name, Donna, I think, getting the dog black and white, and then her waking up black and white. So I don't even know what that has to do with effect packs. Grim, come on. All right.
That's
ND
right.
Techs.
You should have filtered that question out.
Yeah. Are there any future plans to add the donor drive platform into the charity integrations? Right now, our focus is on Tiltify. Adding charities through Tiltify is a process that we have, and while I don't want to say that there's bugs with charity stuff, we do want to ensure that everything is working well with that before we start looking into other platforms. We have talked with Donor Drive before. I had some discussions, I believe, with them in October. It just so happened that Tiltify, the process with Tiltify went a lot smoother and faster, and so that was the first one, and that's going to be our focus. But there's no reason for us to not really support more charities when possible. It's just our team size and the integrations and stuff. We want to make sure what we're doing with it works right on one before we start tackling others. That said, it is versatile. Where once we are ready, it shouldn't be too complicated.
Yeah, and Tiltify has so many charities too. There's a lot of good ones on there. Anyways,
all right. Can we crowd control a hot tub? I mean, technically you could. We mentioned it during the call. We did have Tesla crowd control.
mm-hmm.
And so like that is definitely a possibility. If your hot tub connects to the internet in any way, you should be good to go for that.
So the answer, yes.
Yes, it works on a Tesla. It can work on your device as well.
How much work do you want to put into it? That's the real answer, I guess.
All right. TAS Mello, I think. I was looking to implement crowd control effects through a custom Dolphin version, which supports Lua scripts. Any pointers on how I would interface with Dolphin to get started? Okay, so one, I copied the link for that because that is relevant to our interests. We do have Dolphin support with crowd control right now outside of Lua. Kat can speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, we have support in our SDK for the regular version of Dolphin. I actually have no idea if it works in the Lua version or not. But in any case, I mean, there are ways you could add additional functionality to the Lua and have it talk to our system. It kind of depends on the game and what you want to do. If you're just kind of trying to talk to GameCube and Wii memory addresses, you might be interested to just sort of check out our existing support for Dolphin. Yeah, and if you're really looking to implement something custom, you can always, anything that's TCP based over the Lua, and we can always figure out some way to talk to it. That's ultimately, if anything can talk over a TCP socket in any way, we can communicate with it, and we can make that happen. There are ways, in fact, and this is something else perhaps we should put an example for. There are ways to, even if you really wanted to, write custom pack types straight into the pack. To say, okay, this uses some protocol that I've invented just yesterday, and you can do that.
Yeah. That said,
yeah.
I know that we are looking to do our own potentially custom version of Dolphin to add a few extra functionalities that's not going to be in the main code base. But if our stuff already works with the Lua version in terms of like just mapping straight to it, there's no reason why we shouldn't try to explore adding our changes to that repository cat,
Yeah, that's a
so that
possibility as well.
that could be the de facto Dolphin version that we
I have
support.
reached out to them and have yet to. I have reached out to them just
To
recently,
the Lua,
and I haven't
to
heard
the
back
Lua
yet.
one.
But I think, yeah, to the Lua folks,
Okay. Okay.
and hopefully I'll hear back. They only seem to
Oh,
check their Git issues every couple weeks.
sure. Okay. Cool. All right. Next question then. Jetpack GG wanted to ask does all crowd control use the same code language? Yes and no. Um,
Mhm.
all packs are basically like written in C#. But we talked about it a little bit with the Minecraft pack, the Tesla pack. The Minecraft pack is a mod for the game and it's written in Java, so it's able to communicate. And you just need that was like maybe 50 lines of code for the Minecraft one, which you'd be able to copy and paste and just it would work for your game if you had a mod that had the TCP connector. So it's definitely, yes, they're all based off of C#, but the connections, it can connect to any other language, essentially. And there is the I guess the exception to that is that there are some games like Dr. Doggo Enter the Glitch that was created by Warworld and Code HQ for GlitchCon 2020,
Oh, yeah.
is all built in Unreal, and it's the client's built in there, the effect pack's built in, and that's done in Unreal as opposed to C#. Cool. And then the final question is from Who Child, and they are asking, is there a revenue share or commission for effect pack authoring? Yes and no. At the end of the day, yeah, certain packs we will commission users for. It's usually something that we will ask an individual of a certain skill level, like, hey, we really want to do this pack, we don't have the time for it, are you interested in doing this pack? And so if so, we will pay you for it. There is no revenue share. It is a very complicated system with revenue share. It gets very, especially with the charity options at this point, we wouldn't be able to pay the effects sent over on the charity option to a user because we're not making any money on that, and we wouldn't be able to afford it. At the end of the day, crowd control doesn't make as much money as a lot of people think it does. It's got the potential to, but it's not like we all quit our jobs to work on crowd control full time. We've been doing this for 3 years. The company itself only has 2 full-time employees right now, and it's not just because of crowd controls, because of a lot of our products, our Patreons, our Turnip Exchange, contract work that we did last year, and things like that. But yeah, if you have an idea for a pack and you are looking to get paid for it, it's a lot better to reach out first, letting us know that is your intention, than to come to us with a completed pack and be like, now how much do you pay me? We will, because we don't want you to do the work if we're not interested in the pack at all, and then you have this pack that's you did the work for and nobody's going to use. But 2, we want to make sure that everyone's on the same page with that sort of thing and whatnot, so we're open to it. And then obviously a lot of people like to just do things for the community. The Super Metroid pack, for example, that was done for the Super Metroid community by that developer. They wanted to see the software for it, and that was their prerogative. Others have just made their packs open source. The Minecraft pack is one example of that. Instead of having, they built it because they wanted it, and they open sourced it, and others are able to use it now and build off of it. So lots of different ways why, or lots of different reasons why people do things. But if money is your motivation, nothing wrong with that. Just reach out first, and we're figuring it out. Kat, do you know if you're looking for? Oh, go ahead.
I would say our guides, we always mention who made the pack, and we try to link everything we can in the pack. So we make sure that you're credited.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The one-step installs, even though I've created the one-step installs, they have the credits for whoever made the packs, whoever makes the mods that we might be using. It references all that. We also with regards to open source, we very much follow the rules on that. Our legal team member Jim they've been in data privacy and copyright and stuff for years now, and like it is actually their day job outside of Warp World to handle like licensings and stuff. And so like that has been something that we have been very serious with since the start of Warp World, and we'll continue to be serious about it, because that's the only way it works. There are plans too, just so that everyone knows, there are plans to open source more of our effect packs. I think as we try to get more developers and modders to look at these things, I think giving more examples and whatnot of the things that we've done can only help them learn. And there's not like, it's still going to require crowd control for the most part. Yeah, you could probably rip some stuff out to make your own thing, but at the end of the day, we think people are going to be more open to building than taking. So we are looking to do that. Mario 64 is probably going to be one of them, just because that one it's a very fun one. It's a very easy one for people to understand, but it's got a lot of effects in there.
Yeah, we cover a lot of different things in that pack.
Yeah. And as always, discord.warp.world. If you have any other questions, or if you need to figure out how to find us, I'm on there, Saturn's on there, Cat's on there. We're all part of the Discord, but just reach out. We're open to chatting about just about anything.
We're always excited when new people come in too. I always love when people come with new things. Like, hey, I got this thing I'm working on. Like, awesome. Let's talk about it,
Yeah. Well, if you're excited about a game, we're super excited. And I guess I will also preface this, like, if you do not have the coding experience for a game and you want a pack, the biggest way to get it added to our list for us to like do more research on is to give us a list of effects that would work for the game in your mind. Like, it might not be a game we're familiar with. Like, the three of us, I don't think any of us play Stardew Valley. I don't recall if you have, but like, it's a farming game, maybe. And it's a dating game, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. So like, that game is now supported, but coming to us and saying, I want Stardew Valley support, cool. Tell us 20 effects that would be fun for it. Why would crowd control make for a fun experience with that game? Just giving us a list of possibilities. It doesn't have to be like, within reason, but you can't be like, I want Stardew Valley, and when I send an effect, it turns into Doom 3. Like, possible? Sure, in a way, right. But
writing that down.
Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty fun to go from like a fairly tame garden simulator game to Doom of all of a sudden. Like,
suddenly Jaku demons closing in.
You start up Dark Souls for the person, like completely two different game experiences there. But yeah, just let us know and give us some information, and we're added to our never-ending list of things. And
yes,
the last thing I will say when it comes to that sort of stuff is, when we do release a game and it is announced on Twitter, if you say, why not X game in the reply, that game gets delayed. I don't care if we were going to release it the next day. We release that game, or we delay that game. Like, it might be in the works, it might not be, but just don't be that person. A lot of work goes into each effect pack, and if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. But yeah, I hope that helped everyone understand a little bit more of the process with support, with effect pack building, with coding, and shenanigans and all that stuff. Again, reach out if you have any questions, and please stay in touch. And Tass, yes, if you don't mind just sending me a message, I will get in contact. And yeah, no Donkey Kong 64.
The band,
the other rule of crowd control. Yep. All right. I think that's going to be another tech talk, though. This is our longest one yet, I think.
Wow, was it really?
Yeah, we're almost 2 hours.
Might have been.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And,
all right.
And I have a feeling we're gonna have a lot more of these crowd control tech talks on the list too. So
there's plenty to go over. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. You all have a great weekend. If you're in the United States, enjoy your holiday weekend. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. We'll see you in June. We'll see you in June, where we will talk about something. Oh,
you got it.
You know
what?
Wow. Well, it's June 11th, and you know what happens June 12th.
Yep,
Saturn.
I do.
I think I know what we're going to talk. I think I know what the talk's going to be, but we're not going to mention it yet. All right.
Okay, we'll figure that out. Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
good.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, have a good one.